Hello and welcome to my video today. Today I want to talk about the idea of RV living or van life or travel life while sleeping in your vehicle. So this whole idea really struck me back in, I believe it was 2016. The younger of my two brothers, and I'm the oldest, had a stroke, and we thought we were going to lose him. I live in Michigan, and the rest of my siblings lived in Missouri, near Kansas City, and so I went to see my little brother, and he didn't know we were there because he was out of it and on major life support. And they got him stable, and it was just a matter of wait and see. And so I drove home. And in that long, almost 600-mile drive from east of Kansas City, Missouri to Kalamazoo County, Michigan, it hit me that I always want to go see the country. I've seen a lot of it, but far from all of it. And I've made little attempts to go do things here and there, but it's really hard to drive several hundred miles or 1,000 miles or more in just a few days or a long weekend off work and then turn around and go back. So having a way to travel and work between the times of travel to support the lifestyle seemed to be a good idea. And this was before I knew that van life was a thing. My initial plan was to get something like a class C, bigger than a van but smaller than those monsters, is kind of what I was thinking, something that would be big enough and comfortable. And my initial thought was the various campgrounds that are company type campgrounds. There are several big names out there, and my thought was I could get a membership at one of those, and based on what the cost was to travel from one to another, I could afford to stay at one for cheaper than what I pay for my mortgage. Well, the problem was trying to get this house sold, and the housing market hadn't quite recovered. It's just a long story. So that was my ideal. Like I said, that was in 2016, and my plans to make things come together just kept getting put to the back shelf. Other things kept going on. And then, of course, we all know in 2020, we got hit with the COVID-19 virus and the worldwide pandemic that just changed everybody's lives. Well, just prior to that, in January, I had bought my very first pickup truck, a 2014 Dodge Ram 1500, and I had plans to use its cargo capacity to fix up my garage, to winterize it so I could do things in the garage in the winter. Otherwise, here in southern Michigan, it gets so cold in the winter that it would cost a fortune to heat it. Well, then COVID hit, and you couldn't go anywhere, so that prevented me from doing anything. And then in late March, I had signs that I needed to go see a urologist because it was concerning about my prostate. Well, long story short, found out I had prostate cancer. That totally took my focus off any other thoughts. So in the middle of the pandemic, I'm dealing with an existential crisis. I ended up having surgery, cut it out. So far, all the blood tests are good. So if you want to know more details about that, I've got a blog and another YouTube channel called Men's Health and My Perspective. So I'll have the link in the show notes. You can go check that out if you want to know more details. So then that's under control. Then it's looking like into 2021, maybe things are getting better and maybe something would happen in the summer. And it's still just more nonsense with COVID. And, we all know what is going on with COVID. It just didn't get much better. There was a kind of a lull before the Delta hit and we had vaccines available and that sort of thing. Well, plans didn't come together the way I'd hoped. So then, towards the end of 2021, I decided I'm going to bite the bullet and I'm going to refinance. And I was always worried about that because my house is just over 100 years old. You got to pay basically $500 for an appraisal where they come in and take measurements and take pictures of all the rooms in your house, and then they make a report. And I didn't know all that went into that until I got the report. They basically compare your house to several other houses in roughly the same part of town of similar age and style and price and come back with the estimate. Well, the appraisal came back a little less than what I'd hoped, but still I was able to refinance my house and get a much better interest rate. And and after getting the better interest rate, I was also able to consolidate all my other debt into the mortgage. And I just leveraged the power of the equity in my home and the amount I was paying for all my other debt was about as big as a house payment anyway, so I can double up my house payments and get it paid off a lot quicker. The other thing that's got me focused on moving this along is I turned 57 and it hit me that it's only 10 years until maximum Social Security age, or the age of maximum benefit from Social Security is 67. Used to be 65, and a few years ago they changed that. I've got 10 years to get my finances to a point where I don't have to say welcome to Walmart unless I really want to. Like looking for something to do, not because I need the money to survive. And so that got me thinking more about actually moving forward with my plan, because I've worked from home for 7 years. As long as I have an internet connection, I can do my job. So for several years, actually since 2016, I've had a hotspot from my phone company that I've tried out a few times. I went to a convention in the summer of 2016 and got a hotel room and used that hotspot so I didn't have to rely on the wireless of the hotel to do my job. Didn't tell my boss anything. I just went and did it. They had no idea because I still did my job. That was really about all that I did because other things came up. Now I've got my house refinanced. I can't sell my house right away. My oldest son and his family live with me. They had plans to move out, and then the pandemic hit and squashed that. So they are waiting until my daughter-in-law finishes going back to school, and then they plan to move out after that and move across the state because they want to be over by Detroit. Rather than keep waiting to do anything, I've realized that I can now afford to do something. I had looked for a relatively affordable van or a used RV or a used slide-in truck camper shell, but because of COVID and the demand on people to buy such things to go out and do things, they're really expensive. Some of these things cost more than I paid for my truck, and the truck is the most expensive vehicle I've ever purchased, and it was a used one. So I don't want to end up having to take out a loan to buy something. And even camper shells, getting new ones, are just outrageous. So I stumbled upon, well, I deliberately went looking for people building truck camper shells, and I found several very interesting videos on people that have done slide-in truck campers. And so that's kind of what I've been planning. I've got this notebook I put together, and I called it Planning and Doing Summer 2022, started January 18th, 2022. So I've been slowly putting together notes, and as I think of things, I add it here. And my goal is, when it gets warm enough that I can go get some materials and winterize my garage, I can start working on it. And the idea is to figure out just how big I can make it and fit safely and comfortably in the back of my truck. Ideally, I'd love to be able to stand up. My internet searching has not revealed the exact height of the truck bed from the ground, so I have to wait till there's no snow on the ground so I can get a decent measurement. And I've determined that for the interstates, bridge height has a minimum clearance that is consistent for all interstates, but other places, state highways and U.S. highways, bridges may be a lot lower than that. Some go as low as 11 feet. So I just have to keep in mind, however high the top of the camper and whatever may be sticking attached to the top of the camper, such as solar panels or the dome of a fan, falls. Well, I just need to know how tall that is so I don't drive under a bridge that's too low and wreck my camper. I figure for maybe less than a couple $1,000, I should be able to build something and then purchase a fan, solar panels, some sort of power storage to be able to run my laptop to do my job. I have gotten approval this summer to have every single Friday off from Memorial Day through Labor Day weekend. So at the very least, I can do weekend trips, but my plan is to do a lot more traveling and work my way west and visit the western states I haven't been to, or that I haven't been to since I was too young to remember, and actually make it to the Pacific, because I've never been to Utah, Nevada, California, Idaho, Montana, Washington, Oregon. That's a lot of territory, but it's territory I'd like to be able to see while I'm able to do it. That's the other thing. I don't know how long I'm going to be in good health to be able to do stuff like that. I may find that it's not as easy as I thought it was, but a small expense for building a slide-in truck shell camper, I'm thinking it'll be worth it. I have the know-how to do it. My skills are pretty rusty, but I think I can make something that will hold together on a long trip and keep me dry. As I said, my hope is to be able to stand up in it. I don't know that that's realistic. Definitely to be able to sit up in it, to work in it when there's bad weather, have a way to work either in the truck camper or out the back. My thought is, depending on how big the truck bed is with the tailgate closed, that's basically the limit of how big the footprint of this thing will be. I want to be able to lower the tailgate so that that adds more security to keeping it in place. And I just don't want the hassle of taking the tailgate off and dealing with that, or having the tailgate permanently open. I do have a hitch mount bicycle rack for my, I guess it's a mixed use bicycle. I'd want to take that with me so that I can get out and see some sights that way. I just think it's doable to do something like that and go see places I haven't been or haven't had a chance to really explore, visit family I haven't seen since the pandemic started, or since years before the pandemic started. I have aunts and uncles that are getting up there, and I want to be able to visit them, see cousins. I've got a grandnephew, my first grandnephew. I've never met him. He's just turned 2 years old the other day. So yeah, that's my thought here. And so this playlist will be my journey towards getting ready to take that adventure and go explore. I'll share my thoughts and plans of travel, my thoughts and plans of designing and building this slide-in truck camper, and I guess once the journey actually begins, sharing that journey. It's my hope that you find this useful, that it helps you take into consideration some things for your own potential plans, and that you can learn from things as I go. Maybe I can get some ideas. So I want to thank you for taking the time to join me today, and I'd ask you to give it a thumbs up if you like it, and subscribe if you find this to your liking. Share it, tell your friends, and comment. Let me know what you liked, what you want to know, and we'll deal with that in future videos. Thank you all for joining me, and I'll talk to you next time.